Hi, thank you so much for tuning in to P2P Relates, where we talk about all things relationships. I'm Pat Renfro, and today we're going to unpack managing stress during the holidays, especially with COVID. So I hope you'll stay tuned. Normally, holidays are extremely stressful all by themselves. But as we know, in 2020, it's got an extra element. With COVID-19, the pandemic, lives being lost, people being impacted negatively by getting positives and then ending up in some cases with even lung damage, and just the myriad of loss that's occurred this year. It's been quite a year, and now here we are. Can you believe it already? We're at the end of 2020. I mean, yay! That's a really good thing, right? But we still have two major holidays. You just celebrated one yesterday, and then we have another one in less than a month. So, how do you manage that? You know, they started playing Christmas music about 3 weeks ago. I was like, wow, we just barely got out of Halloween, and already we're dealing with Christmas music in the grocery stores. I started saying, I'm so sorry to the grocery workers at the stores, because they have to hear that all shift long. So I want to talk today about what ways you can minimize the impact of holidays in the 2020 COVID pandemic year. You know, in life, we have to really become good at looking at the bright side of things. Lately, we've been going through some stuff. Holidays are amazing. They can be full of joy, and they can also be full of sadness. There's loss during holidays, neglect, excessiveness, expectations, disappointments, expenditures that should probably have never happened, money being spent that doesn't need to be spent, influences made by retailers in efforts to make money and stay alive from a business standpoint, and yet people being lured into getting things and buying things and doing things that otherwise they wouldn't. So how do you manage that? How can you take this holiday and make it the absolute healthiest for you? Here are 4 things I want you to consider. Make positive confessions at the beginning of each day. You know, there's a study done that says before you go to sleep, if you say, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to wake up refreshed and well rested, you will wake up more refreshed and better rested than if you didn't say that. They did a study on it. They did research, and they had people go to sleep saying what they felt in the moment, and then they had people before they went to sleep stating, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to feel refreshed and totally rested. I used to make an extra confession. I used to say, especially when I had late nights because I had a major project to get done, I would say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow refreshed and rested as if I went to bed on time. And I'm telling you what, probably 80 to 90% of the time, I woke up refreshed and rested as if I went to bed on time. So doing daily confessions and deciding what it is you want to believe is going to happen for you can make all the difference in the world. And you would have to be the one to establish what it is you're going to say, what it is you're going to see. If you saw my video from last week, you would see where I encouraged you to imagine your very next vacation. And as I look back on that video, or I reflected back on that video, I had a few regrets, because I thought, I wish I had gone into it a little bit more, because I really wanted people to just sit down and have a session where they actually created an imaginary vacation. It didn't have to be extreme. It didn't have to be so out of reality that you could even see yourself doing it. No, I wanted you to really think about what place would be really cool that you could say in 2021, we're going. And don't figure out how much it's going to cost or anything like that. Just imagine this phenomenal vacation. And then think about all the individual elements that would describe what made that vacation phenomenal. So likewise, when I talk about making daily confessions, what you say really is powerful and really matters. And you know what? More often than not, what you say comes from your heart and from your head. What you believe is what you're going to say. If you say things like, oh man, I'm so fat, or oh, I am not the smartest person in the world, boy, in fact, I'm kind of slow. You may laugh behind that. You may act like you're being a little sarcastic, and you may even think you're being humble. But in reality, you believe that. That's why you're saying it. Because if you were far from that thought and you really didn't see yourself that way at all, it wouldn't even come out of your mouth. You wouldn't even think to say it. So think about what confessions you want to make. Write them down. Visualize them. Imagine. And then say them every day as you start your day, especially during this pandemic holiday season, because it's going to make a huge difference. Okay, the second thing, remind yourself to take slow, deep breaths throughout the day as needed. But get to a place where it's a discipline that you've developed and you find yourself automatically doing it when you're sensing pressure or stress. It makes a big difference. I'm not an expert at it, but I have developed a habit of doing it. Probably could do research just like you. I've left a link in the comments below so that you can take advantage of it. And there's one website that was just talking about the different ways to do breathing. But when I am really feeling sadness or incredible frustration, which unfortunately I've experienced this week, one of the guidelines for breathing in the link below says breathe up to 4 counts, then hold it for 7 counts, then release it for 8 counts, so that ideally you've pushed all the air out of your body by the time you get to 8. What that does is it tells your brain to calm down. If you think about it, how are you feeling when you're afraid or angry or frustrated in the car during traffic time, or with a threat or a phone call, or when someone pops out of nowhere and you see them and it scares you, or maybe you're coming around the corner and they're not trying to scare you, but you didn't anticipate anybody coming and you see them. My family used to get really annoyed with me because I would go, I would just be so easily spooked. But for whatever way and reason, when you do that, your heart takes place and it begins to palpitate. And that's not good. So you want to pay attention to what you're kind of taking your heart through. And that's why when you feel anxious, when you feel anxiety, when you feel frustration or intensities that you really know aren't healthy, that would be a good time to take a deep breath. Sometimes you may have to do it for 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes you might have to do it 3 or 4 times in a day. Neither here nor there, it's a tool. So that's your second way to decrease stress. Third way, decide who you are going to serve, encourage, check on, or thank. Now, I said something similar to that in my previous video, but we can't do it enough, people. We're going through a lot, and life is a lot sometimes. And it's really important to not get so caught up in what your a lot is that you forget that other people are going through that and some. So when you can step away from you for a minute and actually reach out to others, that can help you have a more positive perspective, because you'll recognize that you not only are not alone, but there's a lot of people going through a whole lot more than whatever it is you think is so tremendous. Just today, we live in a complex, and there are several elderly people that live here. A 90-year-old lady that lives not so far down way from me. And so my neighbor and I were speaking, and she said, "Have you seen Miss So-and-so?" And I said, I was going for a walk the other night, and I passed by her place, and the dog was barking, 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 and it was totally dark in there. And I went up to the door to make sure the dog was okay, because he was barking in a way that was uncommon for him. And she spoke out, and I said, "Oh, you're there?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yes." But I felt so bad tonight when I figured out that she actually was sitting in the dark, because she's been sitting in the dark for 2 months because she couldn't afford her light bill. Now, I was in a car wreck not too long ago, and then later when I got my rental car, the apartment complex towed it because I didn't have my apartment sticker on there, and it cost me almost $400 to get it out. So I'm just whiny, just everything, woe is me. And then 2 days later, after a pretty rough week for me, I find out that this 90-year-old lady was just down the way from me that had no lights. Now, no lights for, getting a little emotional, no lights for a couple of days is a little rough, because you got a lot of sunshine where we are, and you got all day long. But she likes TV, and many nights she would have her TV on way past 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was wondering why she was sitting there, but I was so caught up in me. I didn't think to do more than just ask her, was she okay? I didn't think to say, "You always have your TV on. Is there any reason why you're sitting in the dark? Can I help you?" And you know what, people? In this world, we will have plenty of opportunities to do that for other people. And we will have plenty reminders that it could be worse. And we haven't seen the worst, and we're not going through the worst. And if we could just stop for a second and breathe life into other people and check on them and see how they're doing and what we could do to help them, it will help you. It really will. So that's the third way. And finally, the fourth way: pursue joy, peace, and love. We need peace. Peace is a healing balm. It allows you to think clearly, to function in a more natural, kind way. Again, if you're stressed, if you're upset, if you're anxious, you're going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with. We weren't born to live in stress. We weren't born to strive. Yeah, work hard toward a goal and become all that you can be. That's one thing. Work out, exercise, pursue resistance. Yes, that's different. But when it's inner conflict, when it's lack of peace because of how you're dealing with someone, those are not healthy things to be a part of. And we need to do all we can to keep our peace. So peace is one. And joy. Oh my God. If I get up in the morning and I stump my toe, and maybe I get out to my car and the battery's dead, or maybe I drop my water and it spills on the bottom of my dress, I could get in a real funk about that, right? But I could also look at it could have been worse. Maybe I spilled the water in the traffic thing and have a car wreck. Or maybe it's not water, it's coffee and it's hot and it burns and scalds my leg. Or maybe I can't even afford a water bottle. Or maybe I don't have a car, I'm walking. There's so many different ways to look at how things could be worse. And if I can be joyful and thankful about what I do have, what is going right, because I'm telling you, baby, it could always get worse. It could always be darker than whatever you see. And every time I talk about this, I think about other situations and other lives that I'm aware of that are going through worse. So we have to keep our joy. Joy makes all the difference in the world. And when you get to the place where you're not in joy, it's a downward spiral. And it can get darker and darker and darker. And when it's dark, you don't fare so well. So joy is a tool to keep you powerful and keep you functioning well. And then the final one is love. Oh my goodness. We need to walk in love. We need to be lovers of life. We need to love others. And again, like you've heard me say, if you follow me, you need to know how to love yourself. You need to learn how to accept that you are enough. Whether you're the size you want to be, have the education you want, have the house you want, have the friendships and relationships you want, it starts with you. You got to be okay with you. And whatever work you need to do so that you can get to the place where you enjoy yourself, you appreciate where you are, even though it may not be where you're headed or where you're going to end up or what you're striving toward, like me as I am today. And as I perfect that, as I get better in walking in self-love, boy, I'm going to be a much nicer person, a much more giving person, a much more caring person for others. But if I'm completely internally frustrated and displeased with me, what can I do for you? Sometimes I may project onto you and actually say you're better than me and then try to look up to you at my expense. But that's not even really love. That's a part of desperation or something that's not healthy. So you got to start with the foundation of knowing who you are and appreciating yourself. And there's plenty of books, YouTubes, Google searches, counselors, mentors, plenty of people who can help you figure out that journey. But you got to get that straight. And then when you walk in love, it makes all the difference in the world. So there we go again. I'm done. Hit the subscribe button so that you can hear my channel and different aspects of all things relationships. Hit the bell, and that will give you a notification when I do an upload. Many people have told me that they didn't get a notification and they wondered why, but then when they went to the channel, they saw they were subscribed. When you hit the subscribe button, there is a little bell to the right of it, and when you tap that bell, then you will get the little tick in your YouTube channel that tells you, oh, somebody's notified you, and then you'll get my notice. And also, finally, please always consider giving me a like, and I really encourage your comments, and thank you for those that you've been giving lately. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. I hope your Thanksgiving was great if you recognize Thanksgiving, and I hope that you're finding success, maybe using these principles as well as the ones I did in the previous, where you can remind yourself of how to get through. Because again, you all, life is about getting through, not just staying where we are and getting stuck, but going through. Everything we go through is very temporary. This life is very temporary. So as you're going, you want to go through, and you want to think in a mindset of, I'm getting through this. We're getting through the pandemic. We're getting through 2020. Nothing's going to stay the same forever. So I just want to encourage, be of joy, be of good cheer, spread your love, breathe, and really just look around and appreciate what you do have, and recognize that it could be worse and it's gonna get better. All right, take care. Bye.